movies have died. Movies are dead. Like and it's like movies are terrible now. They're the worst. And
what? Do you really think that?
Oh yeah, I think that filmmaking is at an all-time. I think that people make terrible films now. I rarely see something that I think is good. I almost never do. There are amusement parks that, you know, that I'm stealing from Scorsese there, but it's just like they're just silly. Television has really upped its game, and you know, according to a sort of a new culture of home theater, you know, there's definitely some great television. I would venture to say that a lot of the best writers are in television, but movies have died. Movies are dead. Like and it used to be that a movie like this was the movie that people would, you know, as we'd say in New Zealand and England, queue up around the block for, you know, that would line up around the block for, you know, and those days are gone. That there's nothing. I'm not interested. Look, you know, to discuss what you said before, you said, you know, you left with a whole lot of questions. Well, to me, the question is more important than the answer. It's if you are inviting your audience to be a filmmaker with you in their minds, like if you like, that's a successful film. If you're supplying them with everything, like with a whole lot of answers, you're not engaging them. And I just feel like the responsibility of the artist is to elicit a change in the person observing that art, you know. And there's no, we're condescending our audiences now. We're asking them to, we're beseeching them to be stupid. We're on bended knee saying, you're a dummy. And this is what I love about what James has done. Like that, you know, sorry, I'm on a rant.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I appreciate it. I just wonder, but I mean, I get exactly what you say, but I bet your kids love Marvel movies, right?
So they're a little young, and yeah, sure that they don't mind being entertained and lost. I'm not saying that films aren't now engaging. They're just terribly acted, and that doesn't even matter anymore. Or it's and I'm talking about by major stars. You know, like the craft has gone out the window. And I do.
It's like that joke in Birdman. It was
Birdman's exceptional, you know.
But the joke where Michael Keaton goes, Renner, they got Renner now.
Well, Jeremy Renner, who actually did. He's a good actor though. Like, I mean, like he really is. Like he's. I mean, I've met Jeremy a few times, and I'm not saying that just because I'm acquainted with him, but. Jeremy's really good, but the Jeremy Renner's are few and far between. But that movie is stunning. I mean, did you see so maybe I'm going to have to eat my fucking words here, because there was that beautiful movie. Did you see Roma?
Yes, I did. Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah.
That like to me, I'm like, oh, okay, so filmmaking's still alive, but like I'll see 2 or 3 of those a year, you know, that actually have the sort of the courage to sort of withhold and make you ask those questions. But when it's become pageantry now and demonstration, and it's not like people want their escapism, and they want to feel good, and it's not the same thing as inviting them into. Like, again, just going back to that thing we were saying before about living with movies. You can stop me if I'm boring you.
No. I mean, it's fascinating.
About inviting people to be your co-creator. You know, that's the thing that lives with them. Like, I've seen these Marvel, you know, the movies. Shit, I was in one of them. You know, but I can't.
Oh yes, you know, I just sorry.
It was rather a good one of the franchise, and it's total privilege, and I'm super grateful. But it's not asking you anything that terribly deep, and unfortunately, because of the deluge of CG and the beautiful things that computers can now make with the image you're watching. You're sort of even less, and you're engaged in a very superficial level, but it's not going deep, you know. And
I understand what you mean, and for the record, I agree. Spider-Man 2, which was obviously at the very start of this, was Sam Raimi, who's had earned his wings, delivering fantastic movies like Evil Dead and what have you. I think that to me, look, I don't mind these sort of big event movies, the mega movies that cost $200 million. And I think the problem is that we no longer get mid-budget movies in the $60 million mark, maybe, the $50 million mark, which are original ideas, but still deliver on that spectacle that we used to get.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
We either have these mega ones, or you're scrabbling around trying to raise, $1 million for your movie, and it's polarized, one or the other. There's no middle ground anymore, which is the unfortunate thing.
You nailed it. So at the end of the mid to late aughts, the Warner independents, the Paramount Vantages, all these smaller independent arms of the studios, because the studios for a period were making very real money out of their $15-20 million films. These were the movies that Julia Roberts or Clooney would get greenlit back in those days, because they had taste, and they would get these like little films made for a decent budget, and they could be incredibly profitable, and they could not be, but what we're seeing now is the hedging of bets. And so studios now are like, when I first came to town, like, Disney was making, a lot of films per year, like, in the early 2000s, they were making, I don't know, close to 100 or something like that. They make what now, 2 or 3 movies a year. It'll be a Star Wars film, it'll be a Pixar, and it'll be, it's hedging. It's a business. It's not. So that the world, when that's the driving force, you're not talking about storytelling anymore. You're talking now. I'm with you. Look, I'm not allergic to the large tentpole movie. I'll watch those and I can switch off and enjoy them, and they can be fun. And particularly when you have kids, they're going to want to watch whatever Pixar has just cooked up or whatever, But in terms of like, there was a period, particularly at the end of the 90s, where larger film, like, look at a film like Fight Club, right? I mean, like, Fight Club was, Brad was already an enormous star at that point. So was Edward Norton. This was a quote unquote tentpole, but it was really, there was, I think it was the same year. I want to say it's the same year as Three Kings, and and I believe Magnolia came out that year, and like, you had these stunning, like, gigantic films with incredible casts that left you like, and just like, I still, like, who doesn't think about Fight Club? Like, it pierces the social consciousness. We haven't made a movie quite like Fight Club since it was around.
Yeah, I mean, I fundamentally agree with you on all those points. I think Fight Club is it's kind of unique. I don't think, even if we were still making movies that I think Fight Club costs around $60 million. I don't think even if we were making movies for around $60 million based on, a Chuck Palahniuk book, Fight Club is so unique. It's like, it's difficult to compare anything to it. I think there are still films coming out. I mean, I guess more importantly, rather than me going, no, there are. It's like, you work in this industry, obviously, and how does that make you feel? Because it must be, I don't want to say depressing, but for the industry, for you to be, I guess, disillusioned with the industry that you actually work within, must be quite quite a melancholy feeling.
No, like, it's, well, you need to be instrument in changing that. It's why I gambled and took this film, and luckily we're seeing, look, it's made a decent splash thus far. Hopefully it continues to sort of ripple outward, but you can be a participant in that change. Look, am I going to take the next film, the next payday for a thing that I don't entirely? It's what people forget about actors. It's always amusing when you're doing interviews and people go, "What drew you to this role?" And you're like, "I need to pay my fucking bills," And but the truth is, like, yeah, like, I'm going to work to survive. That's going to happen. But I'm still also allowed my thoughts, and I'm not going to be ashamed of those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're so politically correct now that we say, well, is this biting the hand that feeds you? Is this? Well, I don't know. I'm not specifying anyone or anything. It's just I know what I'm interested in, and I don't want to be ashamed of having those tastes. I do also think it's important, like I'm writing something right now, which I'm happy to get into development later, which is, and the first thing I think of when I sit down to write every day is what can I put down today that truly terrifies me, that is something that I've never seen before, and because that's really the only place that for me, I'm not saying that everybody else has to have these thoughts. I'm saying I'm again, all of this is personal, that I think that. Do I think that it's depressing that I can't go to a movie theater and I'm not sitting with a packed house in front of the equivalent of Last Tango in Paris? Yeah, of course I do, man. Of course I find that a bummer. That the Romas of the world aren't nearly held as in high regard as like Avengers Endgame. Sure, like I wish it was a slightly different world like that, but there's always going to be outliers, and there's always going to be the movies that are obscenely popular, but you have to be to my circuitous way of answering this question is, look, just what am I, like the question is always like, what am I going to do to make that change? Because I'm definitely going to make other commercial things. I've got to survive, but I also want to make certain that every day I'm taking at least one measured step towards the transformation that I'd like to see.
Hello, Alex here. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us at all, for any reason, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at JTFpod. And don't forget to subscribe to the full audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods.